time, unlike money, cannot be saved, spent, or recovered once it slips away. Each moment is a fleeting gift, a delicate present that, once opened, cannot be returned. Yet we often find ourselves not knowing how to truly cherish it, letting it drift through our fingers like sand. Today we stand on the edge of something beautiful, the opportunity to reclaim our time, to live with purpose, and to honor each moment as it comes. You see, the truth is, time is the one thing we can never control. Its passage is inevitable. But how we choose to use it, that is where our power lies. In the life we choose to live, in the relationships we nurture, in the dreams we pursue, time is our silent partner. If we squander it, we forfeit the chance to make our mark. If we use it well, we shape our destinies. But what is it that makes so many of us waste our precious time? And more importantly, how do we stop? Time is without question the most valuable asset we have. It is the one resource that is finite, elusive, and non-renewable. Once a second passes, it is gone forever, never to be reclaimed. Yet despite its preciousness, we often treat time as though it's an endless commodity, something that we can afford to waste or squander. We let it slip through our fingers, too often unaware of its true worth. Recognizing the value of time means understanding that it is not something to be taken lightly or dismissed. It is the foundation upon which our lives are built. Each minute that passes holds within it the potential for growth, connection, and progress, but only if we choose to use it with intention. When we fail to recognize time's value, we often find ourselves trapped in cycles of procrastination, distraction, or mindless activity. We may tell ourselves that we'll get to it later, or that there's plenty of time, but in reality we are giving away the most precious gift we have without ever realizing it. The truth is, there is no later that we can count on. Life moves forward relentlessly, and the moments we let slip away cannot be retrieved. What we do with our time is what ultimately shapes the narrative of our lives, whether we realize it or not. Recognizing time's value also means understanding that how we spend our time reveals our true priorities. If we are constantly rushing through days, caught up in the hustle of an overwhelming world, we may not be taking the time to ask ourselves whether what we are doing truly serves us or aligns with our deepest desires. We may find ourselves putting off the things that matter most, nurturing relationships, pursuing passions, or focusing on personal growth, because we are too consumed with the distractions that life throws at us. This pattern is often driven by a belief that we'll have more time in the future, but what we forget is that each moment we delay is a moment we cannot get back. Moreover, the value of time is not just measured in productivity, but in quality. It's not simply about how many things we can accomplish in a day, but whether we are engaging in activities that bring us fulfillment and joy. A life spent rushing from one task to the next without ever pausing to appreciate the present is a life spent without true appreciation for the moments that define our experience. The art of recognizing time's value involves not just being efficient, but also being mindful, present, and intentional about how we use each precious second. Every moment offers an opportunity to create memories, forge deeper connections with others, learn something new, or nurture our own well-being. But in order to seize these opportunities, we must first acknowledge the importance of time. We cannot afford to wait until the end of our lives to realize how fleeting our time on this earth truly is. The value of time lies in its irreplaceable nature. Once it is gone, we cannot buy it back or rewind the clock. Time is the ultimate gift, and it is up to each of us to determine how we will choose to honor it. When we recognize the value of time, we begin to live more intentionally, more purposefully, and more connected to the present moment. We start to make conscious decisions about how we spend our days and with whom we share our time. We let go of the unnecessary distractions and fill our lives with the things that truly matter, the things that bring us joy, satisfaction, and growth. Only then can we begin to live fully and truly appreciate the precious gift of time that is given to us. Setting clear, meaningful goals is one of the most powerful ways to take control of your time and your life. Without goals, we drift through our days without direction or purpose, allowing time to slip away without achieving anything of significance. Goals provide structure, focus, and a roadmap to where we want to go. They are the markers that guide us toward our dreams and aspirations, turning what may seem like vague desires into tangible, actionable plans. But to truly harness the power of goals, they must be clear and meaningful. When we set goals, we give our time purpose. Imagine a ship sailing without a destination. It's aimless, directionless, and vulnerable to being blown off course by any gust of wind. A goal, however, is like the anchor that keeps us grounded, providing a direction and a reason for our actions. Without a goal, we may work hard every day, but we often end up feeling like we've gotten nowhere. Goals are the bridges between where we are and where we want to be. They are the steps that transform abstract dreams into concrete realities. But not all goals are created equal. Setting clear goals means defining exactly what you want to achieve, rather than leaving it up to chance or assuming it will just happen. Vague goals like "I want to be successful" or "I want to lose weight" are not specific enough to drive focused action. Instead, the goal needs to be well defined, something specific, measurable, and achievable. It's important to ask yourself, what exactly do I want to accomplish? When do I want to achieve it? And how will I know when I've succeeded? These questions give clarity to your vision and provide a roadmap that helps you stay on track. For example, instead of saying, "I want to be successful," you could say, "I want to increase my income by 20% within the next year." The difference lies in how much clearer and more focused this goal is, providing you with tangible steps to take toward your desired outcome. Meaningful goals, on the other hand, are those that resonate deeply with your values and passions. They are the goals that, when you think about them, ignite something within you, an excitement, a sense of purpose, a commitment to bring them to fruition. Meaningful goals are not set because you feel obligated to do so or because others expect you to. They are set because they align with your true desires and aspirations. For example, a meaningful goal might be to write a book, not just because you feel it's something you should do, but because writing brings you joy and you have a story you want to share with the world. The energy you pour into meaningful goals is different because it's fueled by your passion and your heart's true calling. These are the goals that, when achieved, bring a sense of fulfillment and pride because they are a reflection of your authentic self. One of the greatest challenges in setting goals is overcoming the fear of failure. We often hesitate to set clear, meaningful goals because we are afraid we won't reach them. We worry about falling short, disappointing ourselves, or facing setbacks along the way. But the very act of setting goals, even if we don't immediately achieve them, is a step forward. Goals push us out of our comfort zones, encouraging growth and progress. They give us something to work toward, something that drives us to stretch our limits and develop new skills. Failure, when it happens, is not a reason to abandon our goals. It's simply a stepping stone along the path. The most successful people in any field are often those who have failed the most, not because they were without setbacks, but because they kept their focus on their goals, learning from every challenge and pressing forward. Once a goal is set, it's essential to break it down into manageable steps. A large, ambitious goal can be overwhelming if you try to tackle it all at once. But when you break it down into smaller, more achievable tasks, you make it feel more manageable and less daunting. These smaller tasks become your daily or weekly focus, ensuring that each action you take is moving you closer to the larger goal. It's through consistent, focused action, no matter how small, that we make progress and ultimately reach our desired outcome. Moreover, setting clear and meaningful goals also means creating a plan to hold yourself accountable. Goals are not just about setting intentions, they are about following through. You must take deliberate action to move forward, whether that's creating a schedule, tracking your progress, or enlisting the help of a mentor or accountability partner. Without accountability, even the best planned goals can fall by the wayside. Regularly checking in on your progress ensures that you're staying on track and adjusting as needed. It also gives you a sense of momentum and accomplishment, which keeps you motivated to keep going. At times, your goals may evolve or change, and that's okay. Life is dynamic, and as you grow and learn more about yourself, your goals may shift. Being adaptable and open to reassessing your goals is an important part of the process. However, the key is to keep moving forward, constantly refining and pursuing the goals that matter most to you. The only way to truly waste your time is to have no direction at all, to live without purpose, or to give up entirely. Setting clear, meaningful goals not only gives you direction, but it also infuses your days with purpose. When you wake up with a goal in mind, each day becomes an opportunity to take action towards something that matters to you. It fuels your determination, helps you overcome obstacles, and gives you the focus you need to move forward. Your goals become the compass that guides you, ensuring that your time is spent in alignment with your highest aspiration. Through clear and meaningful goals, you take control of your life, using your time not only wisely, but in pursuit of something deeply fulfilling. In a world where we are constantly surrounded by demands, expectations, and requests from all directions, learning the art of saying no is an invaluable skill. Too often we find ourselves stretched thin, overcommitted, and overwhelmed because we have difficulty turning down opportunities, even when we know they don't align with our goals, values, or well-being. Saying no is often seen as an uncomfortable or even negative act, but in truth, it is one of the most empowering and essential skills we can cultivate if we want to reclaim our time and energy. At its core, saying no is about setting boundaries. Boundaries are the invisible lines that protect our personal space, our time, and our energy. Without them, we become susceptible to the demands of others, losing our focus, our sense of self, and the ability to prioritize what truly matters to us. Saying no is a way to reinforce those boundaries, to honor our needs, and to protect the time we have to invest in the things that align with our values and aspirations. It is not an act of rejection or a sign of selfishness. Rather, it is an act of self-respect and a way to take control of how we spend our lives. When we struggle to say no, it often comes from a deep-seated fear of disappointing others or being perceived as rude or unkind. We worry about how our refusal will be received, and we fear that saying no will cause conflict or hurt someone's feelings. However, the reality is that when we say yes to everything, we end up saying no to ourselves. We sacrifice our time, our energy, and our peace of mind in the process. Saying yes to every request, invitation, or obligation only spreads us thin, leaving us feeling drained, unfulfilled, and overwhelmed. Ultimately, we lose the ability to be fully present in the things that matter most. To learn the art of saying no, it is essential to first recognize that our time and energy are finite resources. Every time we agree to something that does not serve our well-being or align with our goals, we are spending a piece of ourselves that we will never get back. It is easy to fall into the trap of saying yes out of obligation or because we don't want to disappoint others. But when we fail to prioritize ourselves, we risk burning out, losing our sense of purpose, and becoming resentful of the very commitments we once took on willingly. Saying no also requires us to develop a deep sense of self-awareness. We need to be clear about what we truly want, what we stand for, and what matters most to us. Without this clarity, we are more likely to say yes to things that are not in alignment with our personal values or long-term objectives. When we know what we want to achieve and what brings us joy and fulfillment, it becomes much easier to make decisions about where to invest our time and energy. Saying no is not just about turning down specific requests. It is about staying true to your priorities and refusing to let outside pressures dictate how you spend your life. At times, saying no might feel uncomfortable, especially when the request comes from someone we care about or respect. But it is important to remember that saying no does not mean we are rejecting the person or devaluing their request. Rather, it means that we are acknowledging our own limits and honoring our own needs. In fact, being able to say no with grace and respect can strengthen relationships because it allows us to show up more fully for those things that truly matter to us. When we say yes to everything, we risk spreading ourselves too thin and in turn becoming less effective and present in the relationships and commitments that are truly important. Learning to say no also involves practicing the art of saying no with kindness and confidence. You don't need to apologize or make excuses when you say no. A simple, straightforward response is enough. You can say, "I appreciate the invitation, but I'm unable to take on any additional commitments at the moment." Or, "I would love to help, but I'm focusing on other priorities right now." It's important to remember that you are not responsible for the other person's feelings or reactions. Your responsibility is to protect your own well-being and ensure that you are making decisions that align with your values and goals. Saying no is not an act of disrespect, it is an act of self-respect. It's also crucial to remember that saying no is not always permanent. Sometimes we may feel guilty about saying no to something because we believe we might want to say yes in the future. However, giving yourself permission to say no in the present doesn't mean that you are closing the door forever. You can always revisit the opportunity later if it becomes more aligned with your needs and circumstances. It is about having the freedom to make decisions in the moment without the pressure of feeling obligated to say yes out of fear or guilt. The more we practice saying no, the easier it becomes. It starts with small, simple decisions, turning down an invitation we don't truly want to attend, declining a request that doesn't align with our values, or saying no to an extra task that would overwhelm us. As we continue to assert our boundaries, we build confidence and strengthen our ability to say no with grace. Over time, we begin to recognize that saying no is not something to be feared, but rather something to be celebrated as an expression of our self-worth and our commitment to living a life that is authentic and aligned with our true desires. Learning the art of saying no is ultimately about taking control of our time, our energy, and our lives. It is about making conscious choices that allow us to invest in the things that bring us joy, growth, and fulfillment. When we say no to things that do not serve us, we create space for the things that truly matter: our passions, our relationships, and our dreams. Saying no is not an act of avoidance. It is an act of empowerment, self-awareness, and intentionality. It is a way to ensure that we are not just going through the motions of life, but actively creating a life that is meaningful and aligned with who we are and what we want to become. In today's world, distractions are everywhere, pulling us in countless directions and stealing away our time and energy. From the constant ping of notifications on our phones to the endless stream of information flooding our minds, distractions have become a persistent force that demands our attention. The unfortunate truth is that we often allow these distractions to control us rather than the other way around. They eat away at our focus, dilute our productivity, and keep us from truly engaging in the things that matter most. If we are to make the most of our time and live with intention, we must learn how to eliminate distractions and create a life where our attention is fully present where it needs to be. The first step in eliminating distractions is recognizing them for what they are. Distractions come in many forms, and often we don't even realize how much they are impacting us until we take a moment to reflect. The obvious ones are the digital distractions: smartphones, social media, and endless notifications. We reach for our phones out of habit, not because we need to check anything urgent, but because it has become a reflex, a way to escape for a moment. But these brief diversions add up, and before we know it, we've wasted hours scrolling, watching videos, or jumping from one app to the next. Each distraction pulls us further from the task at hand and disrupts our focus, making it harder to get back on track. However, distractions are not only digital, they can also be physical or mental. Perhaps it's the clutter in your environment which distracts your mind and makes it harder to think clearly. Maybe it's the constant noise around you, a busy office, loud conversations, or even the hum of background television. Distractions can also be internal, like wandering thoughts, worries about the future, or regrets from the past. Our minds are constantly generating ideas, thoughts, and memories that can pull us away from the present moment and the task we are trying to accomplish. Even our emotions can act as distractions, diverting our attention to feelings of stress, anxiety, or frustration that prevent us from staying focused. Recognizing distractions is the first step toward eliminating them. But the real work comes in actively managing and removing them from our environment and daily routine. One of the most effective ways to minimize distractions is to create a dedicated space for focus. Whether it's a quiet corner of your home, a specific area in your office, or a place you visit regularly, having a designated spot where distractions are minimized can make a world of difference. This physical space should be free from unnecessary items. No clutter, no devices, no unrelated materials that can pull your attention away. When you sit down in this space, it should be understood that it is a place of work, creativity, or reflection, where the only thing that matters is the task at hand. In addition to your physical space, you must also create time for focused work. In a world that constantly demands our attention, carving out uninterrupted blocks of time is crucial. The temptation to multitask is strong, but research has shown that multitasking actually reduces productivity and increases mental fatigue. When we attempt to juggle multiple tasks at once, our attention is split and the quality of our work suffers. Instead, set aside specific time periods for specific tasks and commit to focusing solely on one thing at a time. Whether it's 30 minutes of deep work, an hour dedicated to a particular project, or a quiet period to read and reflect, making space for focused effort without interruption is vital. Another important strategy for eliminating distractions is to manage your technology. While digital tools can enhance our productivity, they can also be the biggest culprits when it comes to distracting us. Social media apps, news sites, and instant messaging services are all designed to capture our attention, often pulling us away from what we are trying to focus on. One of the most powerful ways to combat this is to set boundaries around your use of technology. This could mean turning off non-essential notifications, putting your phone on Do Not Disturb mode while working, or using apps that block access to distracting websites for a set period of time. Additionally, setting designated times during the day to check emails or social media can help you resist the urge to constantly be on and available. But eliminating distractions isn't just about managing the external environment. It's also about managing your mind. Mental distractions are often the hardest to control because they come from within. Thoughts about what you need to do later, worries about your relationships, or concerns about your health can easily hijack your attention. One way to manage these mental distractions is through mindfulness and meditation. Taking a few moments each day to center yourself, breathe deeply, and clear your mind can help you regain focus and approach tasks with greater clarity. You can also use techniques like the 2-minute rule, where if a thought or task pops into your head while you're working, you give yourself 2 minutes to jot it down and then return your attention to your work. This strategy helps you acknowledge the thought without letting it derail your focus. Another mental distraction comes from trying to do everything at once. Our brains are not designed to handle multiple complex tasks simultaneously. When we overload ourselves with too many things to do, we create unnecessary mental clutter. One way to reduce this is by practicing the art of prioritization. Instead of overwhelming yourself with an ever-expanding to-do list, take the time to identify what truly matters and focus on those tasks first. The process of making conscious decisions about what deserves your attention will help you stay grounded and avoid spreading yourself too thin. At times, the distractions in our lives are not just about the present moment. They're about the past or the future. We may find ourselves ruminating on mistakes we've made or worrying about what's coming next. This kind of thinking pulls us away from the present, leaving us stuck in a mental loop. The key to overcoming this is learning to stay in the moment. Practices like journaling, mindfulness, or simply taking a few deep breaths can help you bring your attention back to where it belongs. Remind yourself that your power lies in the present. This moment is all you truly have, and it is where you can make the most impact. One of the most powerful ways to eliminate distractions is to create habits and routines that reinforce focus and clarity. When you establish a structured routine, Your mind becomes conditioned to switch into a productive mode at certain times of the day. These habits become second nature and reduce the mental energy required to make decisions about what to do next. Whether it's a morning routine that sets you up for the day, a dedicated work block in the afternoon, or an evening ritual that signals the end of your day, having a predictable schedule minimizes distractions and helps your brain stay focused. Eliminating distractions requires intentional effort, but the rewards are immense. When we remove the clutter from our environment and minds, we create space for the things that matter most. We gain more control over our time and our energy, enabling us to direct both toward our goals, passions, and relationships. In a world full of distractions, choosing to focus, to be present, and to protect our time is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves. By intentionally eliminating distractions, we reclaim our ability to live with purpose and engage deeply in the moments that truly shape our lives. In the hustle and bustle of daily life, it's easy to get caught up in the constant cycle of tasks, obligations, and responsibilities. We move from one thing to the next, often without pausing to reflect on our progress or take stock of where we are. The demands of life push us forward, and before we know it, we can lose sight of the bigger picture. That's why regularly reflecting and resetting is so crucial. It's about carving out time to pause, to look back, and to evaluate whether we are on the right path or if it's time to adjust our direction. Reflection is not just a luxury or an afterthought. It's an essential practice for personal growth, clarity, and the intentional use of time. The act of reflecting is an invitation to look inward, to assess how we're spending our time and energy, and to gain insight into our lives. It's easy to get swept away by the demands of work, social commitments, and the never-ending flow of information. We often find ourselves on autopilot, going through the motions without fully considering whether the things we are doing are truly serving our greater purpose. Reflection, however, calls us to slow down and assess where we've been, where we're going, and how we're getting there. Reflection can take many forms. It could be a moment of quiet introspection at the end of the day, where we take time to think through the events of the day, the decisions we made, and how we felt. It could be a more structured practice, such as journaling or meditation, where we actively engage with our thoughts and examine our goals, actions, and intentions. There is no one-size-fits-all method for reflection, but the key is to create a space where we can tune into ourselves and get honest about where we are in relation to our aspirations and values. One of the most important aspects of reflection is self-awareness. Without awareness, it's easy to continue on a path that no longer aligns with our desires or well-being. Regularly reflecting on our experiences allows us to catch ourselves before we veer too far off course. It provides us with the opportunity to identify patterns, both positive and negative, that may be affecting our progress. For example, if we reflect on a recent project and realize that we spent most of our time distracted or procrastinating, we can make adjustments to how we approach our work in the future. Similarly, if we reflect on a relationship or an aspect of our life and notice that we are feeling unfulfilled or disconnected, reflection allows us to ask ourselves why and what changes we might need to make. Resetting is the natural companion to reflection. After we pause to assess where we are, resetting allows us to recalibrate, to make necessary adjustments, and to realign ourselves with our goals and values. Life is dynamic, and as we move through different stages, we can outgrow certain habits, priorities, and even relationships. Resetting isn't about making radical changes every time we reflect, but about creating intentional shifts in the way we approach life. It's a moment to recalibrate our focus, to redefine what success looks like for us, and to set new intentions that are more in line with who we are becoming. A reset often involves letting go of what no longer serves us. We may recognize that certain activities, people, or environments are draining our energy or hindering our growth. This awareness allows us to release these things in a thoughtful and deliberate way, creating space for new opportunities, new ideas, and new experiences. Resetting is about course correction, but it's also about creating a renewed sense of purpose and enthusiasm for the journey ahead. It's a chance to pause, reassess, and recommit to the things that matter most to us. In order to reflect and reset effectively, we need to build this practice into our lives regularly. Reflection and resetting shouldn't be a one-off activity or something we do only when things feel chaotic or off track. They should be ongoing practices that help us stay aligned with our values and goals, especially as we encounter new challenges and experiences. One way to do this is by setting aside specific times throughout the week or month for reflection. It could be a weekly ritual where we sit down and review our progress, assess our priorities, and set intentions for the upcoming week. It could also be a more structured reset, such as at the end of a season or at the start of a new year, when we take time to evaluate where we are in the grand scheme of our lives and make necessary adjustments. It's also important to recognize that reflection and resetting are not about perfection, they are about growth. It's about giving ourselves permission to evolve and change. Often we get stuck because we think that once we set a goal or make a decision, it must be followed through to the end, no matter what. But life rarely unfolds in such a linear way. Our circumstances change, we learn more about ourselves, and our priorities shift. Reflection and resetting allow us to honor that fluidity, to recognize that we are not static beings but dynamic ones, capable of change and growth. It's not a failure to revisit and adjust, it's an act of wisdom. When we reflect and reset regularly, we give ourselves the gift of clarity. We no longer operate in a state of autopilot or drift through life on the whims of external pressures. Instead, we approach each day with intention and purpose, knowing where we're headed and why. Reflection sharpens our focus, while resetting empowers us to make the necessary changes to stay on course. This practice strengthens our ability to make thoughtful decisions, to stay aligned with our values, and to use our time in ways that are meaningful and fulfilling. In addition, reflecting and resetting helps us develop resilience. Life is full of unexpected twists and turns, and we will inevitably encounter obstacles, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But by regularly checking in with ourselves, we create a foundation of self-awareness and self-compassion that allows us to respond to challenges with grace. We are better equipped to acknowledge when things aren't working, to make adjustments, and to keep moving forward with renewed energy. This resilience is born from the practice of reflection and resetting. It is an ongoing process of staying grounded in who we are, where we're going, and how we want to live. In a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, reflection and resetting are acts of self-care and self-leadership. They allow us to step back, regain perspective, and ensure that we are living intentionally rather than reacting to external pressures. Through reflection, we gain insight into our lives and make thoughtful choices. Through resetting, we realign ourselves with our values and create the space for growth and evolution. These practices allow us to live with greater clarity, purpose, and fulfillment, ensuring that we are not simply going through the motions, but actively creating the life we desire. In the fast-paced world we live in today, it's all too easy to become consumed by the past or the future. This constant juggling of past and future takes us away from the most important time we have, right now, the present moment. Living in the present moment is not just a feel-good concept or a passing trend. It is an essential practice for cultivating peace, joy, and a sense of fulfillment in our lives. When we learn to truly embrace the present, we unlock a deeper connection to ourselves and the world around us. Living in the present moment begins with awareness. The present moment is fleeting, always moving, and if we're not paying attention, it slips away unnoticed. Most of us are often so caught up in thinking about what's next, what we need to do after this conversation, what we're having for dinner, or what happened earlier in the day, that we miss the beauty and richness of what's happening right now. To be fully present means to shift our focus from the past and future to the immediate experience. It's about noticing the details of the world around us, the warmth of the sun on our skin, the sound of birds chirping, the way the air smells, or the taste of the food we're eating. It's about truly being with ourselves, free from distractions and not just going through the motions of life. This practice of living in the present moment requires a shift in mindset. In a society that celebrates constant productivity and forward thinking, it can feel counterintuitive to slow down and simply exist in the here and now. Yet, when we are constantly focused on what's coming next, we miss the richness of the present experience. We become like tourists, rushing through life and skipping over the things that truly matter. To live fully, we must learn to savor the present, to relish the details and experiences that are unfolding right before our eyes. It's about cultivating a deep appreciation for the simple things and realizing that there is beauty in every moment, even the seemingly ordinary ones. A key part of being present is learning to quiet the noise in our minds. Many of us live in a constant state of mental clutter, juggling endless thoughts, tasks, and concerns. It can be difficult to be present when our minds are preoccupied with everything except what we're doing in the moment. Meditation, mindfulness, and deep breathing practices are powerful tools for calming the mind and bringing us back to the present. By focusing on the sensations of our breath or the sounds around us, we can center ourselves and free our minds from the distractions that pull us away from the present moment. These practices help train our minds to be more aware and less reactive to the endless stream of thoughts that bombard us throughout the day. Living in the present moment also requires letting go of the need for control. Many of us are taught to plan, prepare, and control every aspect of our lives. While planning is important, the constant desire to control every detail can cause unnecessary stress and anxiety. Life is unpredictable, and the more we try to control outcomes, the more we find ourselves anxious about things that are beyond our control. When we embrace the present moment, we release the need to constantly manage the future or hold on to the past. Instead, we allow ourselves to experience life as it is, free from the pressure to make everything perfect or to force things to unfold according to our plans. We trust that in each moment we have what we need to navigate the situation at hand. One of the most powerful aspects of living in the present is the sense of peace and freedom it brings. When we are anchored in the present, we no longer carry the weight of past regrets or the burden of future worries. We are simply here now with what is. This freedom allows us to experience a deep sense of contentment regardless of external circumstances. Whether we are in a moment of joy or facing a challenge, the present moment is where we can find peace. Even in times of hardship, staying present allows us to respond with clarity rather than reacting impulsively or being consumed by fear or frustration. In the present moment, we have the power to choose how we respond to life's challenges without being weighed down by what came before or what may come next. Living in the present also strengthens our relationships. When we are fully present with others, we show them respect, care, and attentiveness. How many times have we found ourselves distracted during a conversation, thinking about what we want to say next or what we have to do later? We may nod and smile, but we aren't truly listening. When we focus entirely on the person in front of us, we create a deeper connection and cultivate meaningful, genuine conversations. This attentiveness fosters trust and empathy. As others feel truly seen and heard, whether we are with family, friends, or colleagues, being present is the greatest gift we can give to those around us. But living in the present doesn't mean ignoring the past or the future altogether. It's not about abandoning plans or disregarding our responsibilities. It's about striking a balance. The past has valuable lessons to teach us, and the future holds the potential for growth and opportunity. The challenge is not to dwell in either one for too long. Reflecting on the past allows us to learn from our experiences, while planning for the future helps us set goals and stay on track. However, these reflections and plans should never overshadow the present. We must remember that life is happening now, not in the memories we cling to or in the future we imagine. By keeping our attention in the present, we empower ourselves to make the most of the time we have. Living in the present moment also helps us develop gratitude. When we're fully engaged in what's happening around us, we become more aware of the blessings in our lives. Too often, we get caught in the cycle of wanting more success, more possessions, more recognition, and forget to appreciate the abundance we already have. By living in the present, we learn to notice the small, everyday wonders that we might otherwise overlook. The laughter of a loved one, the feel of warm sunlight on our face, or the comfort of a quiet evening at home. These moments of presence are the building blocks of a grateful heart, which in turn enhances our well-being and happiness. Living in the present moment also nurtures our creativity. When we are not bogged down by distractions or worries, our minds are free to explore new ideas and possibilities. The act of being present opens the door to inspiration, allowing us to see the world with fresh eyes. Whether we are artists, writers, musicians, or problem solvers in any field, the present moment is where creativity flourishes. It's in this space that we can tap into our innate ability to innovate and create, unencumbered by self-doubt or the pressure of perfection. Finally, living in the present moment teaches us the power of acceptance. Life will never be perfect, and circumstances will rarely unfold exactly as we envision them. But when we accept the present for what it is, without judgment or resistance, we release the need to control or change everything around us. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up or resigning ourselves to a life of passivity. Rather, it means recognizing that we have the power to choose how we respond to what is happening. We learn to embrace life as it comes, with all its uncertainties and imperfections, and find peace within it. Living in the present moment is a practice, one that requires conscious effort and discipline. It means choosing to be here now in each moment, rather than allowing ourselves to be swept away by the noise of the past or future. By cultivating presence, we open ourselves to a richer, more fulfilling experience of life. When we learn to live fully in the present, we are no longer just going through the motions, we are truly living. In conclusion, living in the present moment is not just a fleeting idea or theoretical concept. It is a transformative practice that has the power to change the way we experience life. The past is behind us, and the future is uncertain, but the present is a gift that we have at this very moment. Let us choose to live fully in this moment, to savor it and to appreciate its beauty. For it is in the present that we truly live, and it is here that we can find the joy, clarity, and peace we so often seek. So I urge you, be present, be here now, for this moment is all we truly have.